First things first, Sarah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
Very good.
So, I'd like to start kind of in the beginning because you moved around a little bit. You were born on Ibiza.
Yes, yeah,
Then
exactly.
you were raised in Antigua.
Yeah.
And I read about this where you said you talked about the simplicity yet difficulty of life on the island. And I wondered what you meant by that.
Well, I mean, it's by that, it's many things. I mean, mainly, I mean, like resources, for instance. I grew up without TV and without internet most of the time, even without power at some point. Like, it was a very on and off thing. Like, yeah, and water too. Water wasn't reliable. Now, thankfully, it is. But when I grew up there, like, and I'm still growing up there, but back then and when I was younger, it definitely was much harder. Yeah, and also, it's many things. The culture there is very different. It's a lot of people from different nationalities that are just in one tiny place, and everybody knows everybody. So, it's nice, but it can be very difficult.
So without those things like internet and some people might call them distractions, were you pushed more towards creativity?
Yeah, I would say I spent a lot of time like writing in my journal and like writing stories, and singing a lot, and yeah, it definitely made me focus more on writing than if I had internet. But when I found out about the whole internet world, I kind of went crazy and like got totally addicted to like being online all the time. I'm better now though, but yeah.
Do you remember what you wrote about early on?
I think I started off writing. I had like this fascination with wolves, so like I would write about wolves a lot. Yeah, I was like 10 at the time, and then when I was 12, I started like really getting into Lord of the Rings, like full on. Like I used to be able to speak Elvish pretty fluently. I'm a bit rusty now on it, but yeah.
I'm not gonna make you do it.
Okay, yeah, don't. That's what I was saying. I was like, I'm not gonna. Like I can still say how are you and all that stuff, but yeah. But anyways, so I wrote a Lord of the Rings fan fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, and it actually got like I published it like on Wattpad, which is like this online website. It actually got like 40,000 views, which is impressive for like a really bad, in my opinion, really badly written fan fiction. But yeah, and the main character's name was Orathiel, so I kind of took inspiration from that name and really related to the character.
And so can I assume then whenever you kind of discovered something, you totally immerse yourself into it?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, I'm like that with different fandoms too. Like I've always watched anime movies, like Studio Ghibli movies. I've grown up on them. But recently I've really gotten into anime, so like fully submerged in that.
And I believe your parents were very musical. So when did musical and how does musical factor into these infatuations, but also kind of that writing?
Well, like you said, my family is very musical, and my dad was a producer, mom's a songwriter, so I'd always watch them in the studio, and I guess, like, with the creative writing, and then always loving music and, like, watching it being created and singing a lot, it kind of just, like, merged together eventually. But one thing that, like, really helped me was when I was in 3rd grade, I joined a choir, and that's where I really, like, got over my stage fright, because I had pretty bad stage fright. And kind of found my singing voice a lot more, and yeah, so I guess all came together.
So what's it like now then, stepping on stage? What goes through your mind as you step on stage?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like right before I go on stage, I kind of like have a split moment where I feel like projectile vomiting, like really, really nervous. But then when I step on stage, it kind of like, it all fades away, and I'm like, okay, I just need to do this, have a good time, entertain, and yeah.
Okay. And then, well, you didn't stay in Antigua for the whole time, so once you kind of moved to the big city, or went to the big city, and I suppose that's where Concrete Jungle comes from in a way, but was it a big culture shock for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what Concrete Jungle is about, really. I still live in Antigua, so I always go back there, but I definitely travel now a lot more than I used to, so just seeing like all these different places has been crazy, and I guess Concrete Jungle is really just about visiting such big places and big cities that I've heard so much about but never been to, and just kind of seeing it for myself.
Has it affected your music, your surroundings?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say the people mostly,
Okay.
like the people that I've met in those places. But yeah, also just like the vibe itself. I make a lot of music, like in LA, and it's like, yeah, it's part of the vibe really.
And is it a blessing or a curse having a producer as father?
Well, I would say a bit of both. No, I'm kidding. I love my dad, and he's definitely inspired me a lot and showed me a lot of things that I wouldn't have known without having him as a father. And yeah, he showed me like the rough spots too of the music industry and kind of tried to teach me as much as he could about it, and hopefully I've learned some of it.
Well, well, what is one big lesson that sticks out for you that he told you about the music industry?
That there's gonna be lots of moments that are gonna be really, really tough, and he especially knows because I'm such a self-criticizer. I always try and I'm like my biggest critic really. And he just said that I just need to get over myself. That sometimes like you can be your biggest enemy, and you just need to keep going and push your ambition through, and yeah, just don't listen so much to that inner critic and the other critics too.
So what helps with kind of pushing that down or ignoring it, the critics and
Yeah, just believing in yourself, which can be really tough, especially in such a tough industry.
right.
But yeah, I would say having belief and ambition and just pushing through.
So when you are writing a song, do you know when you have something good? Do you think, well, I definitely like this. This is gonna be. I want to put this out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would say my instinct with that is pretty good. I definitely know what I want to say in a song, and I want it to be important and relevant to other people too. So yeah, I would say I do know that moment.
So if we take Outsiders, then can you kind of remember the mind space you were in when you wrote that?
Yeah, I think I was a bit upset really because I think in that moment in time a lot of like contradiction was going on in like the social media world, and it was just a lot of hate going around, and a lot of people that didn't feel like they fit in. They were just like on the edge, and I wanted to write something that I mean that's how I feel too. I do feel like an outsider most of the time, so I just wanted to write something that at the time would make people connect a bit more, and like because there's too much hate going around, really.
I agree. In the song you mentioned the Outcast attitude. So I wondered what to you is kind of that Outcast attitude.
Outcast attitude. Well, I guess just like the perspective that an outsider has on the in crowd is their attitude, really. Like that's just how they feel about the social situation.
Right, and especially if we look at the music industry and kind of society in general, I suppose. But is there a lot of pressure to conform, in a way?
Yeah, I think so. That's why ambition and pulling through what you want to do is so important. Because I mean, I know I'm like only in the very beginning stages of where I would like to be, but it's just super important to keep on doing what you want to do and what you feel is right, but while also listening to the people around you, because that's important too.
So what is one of the best reactions you had from someone to your music?
Probably my parents.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the first session that I did without my parents, because I used to write with my mom sometimes or with my dad, the first time I wrote without them, I think they were really surprised about like what I'd accomplished, I guess. Like it was a small accomplishment, but I was proud of myself that I'd written something by myself. So yeah, it was probably my parents.
Yeah, because I kind of touched upon it already, but is it more difficult to write because you know your mother is a songwriter and she'll have a vision of...
Yeah, like a critic, like more of a critical thing. Well, she's very easygoing, and I always take her advice on my songs, so I would say it doesn't make it specifically harder now.
Okay.
That's good.
Finally then, because, well, one more thing about Outsiders, there's a little bit of Pink Floyd in
yes,
there.
there is. Yeah.
Yeah, where does Pink Floyd
come in? Well, I kind of always grew up with Pink Floyd in like the background of my like household, I guess. My dad is a huge Pink Floyd fan, really, so he'd always play them, and like I think just having them around and then hearing that my dad was a big fan and like that all kind of made me like really love the band. So I wanted to do like a little tribute. Also, I love what they stand for in Another Brick in the Wall, and that, I mean, it's the same kind of statement that I wanted to put in Outsiders, and I hope I did it in the right way because I wouldn't want to like disrespect them in any way or like make any Pink Floyd fans angry, because I truly love their music.
Finally, then you mentioned, well, you're in the beginning of your career. Mm-hmm. Do you have a vision or an ambition of where you want to go to, or is it?
I think I do, but I don't know. It's difficult like saying that because like I don't know. I don't want to sound braggy or anything, but I'm hoping that in the future when I release more music that more people will listen and that I get to perform in front of more crowds. Really.
So do you already have a debut album in mind? Are you already working on that?
I think it's early days with that. I definitely have lots of music that's unreleased, which I can't wait to release. And there's definitely new stuff coming soon.
Very last question. Then, what is it about? What have you noticed about the new music or what you're writing now?
New music? I would say I'm writing a lot more about my feelings and, well, I wouldn't say like guys, but I would say like relationships and that kind of thing. Whereas earlier, I focused a lot more on social situations, and I still am, and I always will. But yeah, I guess that just comes with time. You write about different things.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.